and readiness of a possible outbreak of the deadly virus that has claimed more than 4,000 lives in Liberia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and other West African countries. Samantha Power, who is leading a U.S. team to assess progress made in combating the Ebola epidemic in West Africa, said countries must guard against complacency when dealing with the scourge. He said extra vigilance is key to fighting the disease, considering what the U.S. has had to go through when the first Ebola case was confirmed in the country a few weeks ago.
Well, still on the Ebola and also issues from the Flagstaff House, the seat of government, the World Bank Group has made an additional $100 million to fill the critical gap in the Ebola response to speed up deployment of foreign health workers in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. The World Bank President Jim Yong Kim made the pronouncement when he met with Ghana's Vice President Pakwesi Misatha at the Flagstaff House here in Accra. The details of that particular story will be coming up very, very shortly as we go on in the bulletin. But just away from that, striking public sector workers have vowed to face the government at all fronts if their Tier 2 pensions requests are not met. Not satisfied with the impact of the strike that has left the country's education and health sectors virtually on their knees, the workers are looking forward to organizing a nationwide demonstration to drum home their request to government.
Perpetua Ofori Ampofo, General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, said demonstration will add fuel to fire that is burning. She was unequivocal in demanding that the monies accrued under the Tier 2 pension scheme are sent to the accounts of the custodians for onward submission to the fund managers selected by the workers. The workers want to have a say in how their 5% Tier 2 pension fund is administered and to also choose their own trustees and fund managers. But government insists it cannot trust the administration of the funds into the hands of workers' unions and have chosen the Pensions Alliance Trust to manage the scheme on behalf of the workers. Perpetua Ofori Ampofo said government cannot have its way. The strike, she noted, is to draw government's attention to its poor handling of the scheme and not to punish the populace. She said if government changes its position tomorrow, the workers will also back down on their actions. Her position was also corroborated by the spokesperson of the Forum for Public Sector Register Scheme, Reynolds Tinkrand, who said they are ready to fight the jittery government in order to secure their future and retire comfortably. He said on 2 occasions government has had to withdraw complaints it filed at the National Labour Commission against the striking workers, a demonstration that government is jittery and does not know how to solve the problem, he pointed out.
Okay, so we move away from issues relating to the strike and other issues coming up with it, that in the next 2 days we will be having the National Sanitation Day, and most metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in the Greater Accra region are vigorously preparing towards the mass cleanup exercise to be carried out this Saturday in all the cities across the country. This was information gathered when the news team visited some of the assemblies to find out their preparedness for the national cleanup exercise, which begins on Saturday. The exercise being organized by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and it's also being carried out every month and is geared towards generally improving the sanitation situation in the country's cities.
Recently, Ghana has been rated among the top 10 countries with the dirtiest cities in the world. The Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Mr. Julius Debra, has said Ghana's ranking among countries with poor sanitation is so shameful, and has affirmed his determination to reverse the trend, no matter the consequences. The country is being rated among countries such as war-torn Somalia and fragile South Sudan and Chad, a situation the minister says should be of concern to every Ghanaian. As part of solutions to the problem, the minister has spearheaded the launch of a new campaign to clean the country's cities. Under the campaign, starting from Saturday this week, there will be national cleaning exercises across the country every month. Mr. Debra says he will not allow any political interference to affect his campaign to rid the cities of filth and to prosecute persons who litter in violation of the bylaws on sanitation. The news team spoke to some MCEs about the readiness of the assemblies to join in the nationwide clean-up exercise.
Being rated among the 50th countries in the world, because when I was growing up, Ghana is one of the cleanest, if not the cleanest country in Africa. Issue of Saturday's exercise. We have started giving information to the residents through our information bank. So our information bank goes early in the morning between 5:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning, and then in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening, giving information about the coming cleanup exercise on Saturday. We are entreating every member of this municipality to embark upon this exercise within its own area. But the assembly itself, our staff and non-most staff will focus in two areas. In the past, we've focused our exercises at Anya, Chantain, Santa Maria, and Awosh. So we are now taking our focus to Ablekuma.
The information van is going around announcing it in the communities what they have to do this coming Saturday and what they don't have to do this coming Saturday. We believe they will listen to their information service van and then comply. Those who want to sell, before you do that, you clean your environment. We expect them to work in a very clean environment. Failure to do so, the environmental health officers will be going around that same Saturday and will issue summons to the faulters. And we pray that everybody will comply.
Both MCEs stressed the need for education at the basic level on how to keep the environment clean to be intensified to inculcate the habit of cleanliness into all Ghanaians.
So why should it be so today? You see, very soon we'll be visiting the schools to make sure our children, are taken through this kind of exercise. We are going to make sure that our children in the schools, as well as in the public schools, clean their environment. It's not going to be on a monthly basis, but every week we'll be inspecting. We'll be inspecting. And once they get to know that one, our future will be bright.
One of us as Ghanaians first must change our attitude and our reckless behavior of littering the place, and also our behavior of not really being each other's keeper. Because if you see your brother defecating in open places or littering the place, you should be able to tell the person, my friend, what you are doing is not right, and you must stop it. We have to cultivate that attitude of letting people know that their actions or conduct are not acceptable to start with. And then we ourselves shouldn't be doing that. But with the assembly, like I told you earlier on, we have to enforce, and we are going to go on serious enforcement. Because you see, with this cholera outbreak, we have spent so much money and resources on that. And I believe that those resources and money that have been spent on the cholera outbreak could have been used to do better things if we really enforce the laws on sanitation.
Well, so it's a very worrying situation in a state where the Accra, talking about the capital city of this particular country, has been rated one of the dirtiest cities in the world, and the increasing cases of cholera recorded over the period, a record high since 1983, and indeed has given reason for this particular National Sanitation Day to be instituted so we can all collectively fight the filth that is engulfing this nation from various facets. But what we did was to visit some markets where you and I go to buy food stuff to our homes to cook and eat, to assess the sanitation situation in those markets and find out exactly whether these people who are selling there are adhering to the basic sanitation requirements on a daily basis.
After several warnings by health officials to ensure cleanliness in the capital fell on deaf ears, Accra recorded the highest cases of cholera in about 30 years. Insanitary practices by citizens such as open defecation and indiscriminate dumping of refuse led to the outbreak. Since the outbreak of cholera was announced in July 2014, it is estimated that Ghana has hit a record of 17,000 cases with 150 deaths. The last time Ghana suffered such a staggering number of cholera cases was in 1982. Signs of the cholera outbreak were on the wall after heavy rains consistently exposed filth in most markets in Accra. Foul smell of rubbish assailed the air as it sat by roadsides and remained uncollected for days. So, after massive cleanup campaigns and exercises by government, individuals and concerned members of the public, the news team visited some trading hubs in the capital. At the Seko Kaneshi Trotro station, the situation had not changed as food vendors plied their trade by heaps of filth. The news team interacted with some traders on the cause of the filth.
Donkey for no. Obu abakwa Jane free akro abakwa Jane wo baabi. Odu a boiler container bi ansi baabi anti no. Ohwa aza no bi anhwe ne pena kwa gya to na se okọ. Nyomo na di begu ho, but omo am to ade no. So bi ono kro mo ye yi a. So mo jomo sika. Omo jomo tas. Nje omo asa de so mo na clear nyomo am to ade no. So mo jomo sika. So mo be mo take it. Jomo to. What's it?
The Kaneshi market, the situation was quite different. The filth had been cleared.
It's been several weeks and more since government decided to rid the city of the filth, which has caused the outbreak of cholera, causing people to lose their lives. But we are here now at the Kaneshi market to ascertain the level of sanitation here at the market. As you can see, the bins are empty. The area or the environment is quite clean. We'll talk to some of the traders who sit around the bin here at the market and interact with them and find out from them the impact of the sanitation measures that was taken by government, how it has also helped them here at the market.
However, traders refused to speak to the news team on the level of compliance to continually maintain a clean environment. The news team finally engaged a yarn seller on the impact of the new environment as compared to before.
Marita Mamiao for reporting for First TV News.
So clearly, this confirms the fact that we have some work to do when it comes to the fight against filth in this, especially this capital. And those were the Kaneshi and the Seko market situation with respect to filth. And it's not that good to talk about. Let's move away from that a bit and let's get into issues of labor, where the National Labour Commission has directed the 3 striking teacher unions to call off their strike 2 days old and return to the classroom. The directive was given after a meeting convened by the National Labour Commission and attended by the representatives of the 3 teacher unions. Finance Minister Seth Terkper, and also the Executive Commissioner of the Wages and Salaries Commission, talking about George Smith Graham.
Although the NLC did not offer any explanation about the directive, it is believed the Commission might have hinted to the unions that their action was illegal. The three teachers' unions, Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT), National Association of Graduate Teachers (NAGRAT), and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers (CCT), on October 27th declared an indefinite strike over government's failure to pay their vehicle maintenance allowance, incremental fees, and transfer grants, and 3 months of salary arrears. The president of the CCT, Ernest Opoku, said the leadership of the three unions are not satisfied with the directive given by the NLC, but they said they may call off the strike after consulting their members. Unfortunately, we've been directed by the Commission to form a working committee with the various unions having representation, including the Ministry of Finance, that of Education, and then the Ghana Education Service, and then Controller and Accounts General, he lamented. He assured that we are ready, we are going to meet with our various councils and inform them accordingly as to the directives given by the Commission, and we would respond to it appropriately. The Chief Executive Officer of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, George Smith Graham, opined in an interview with City News that the strike could have been avoided if the unions had also been a little patient.
Well, so this directive doesn't seem to have gone down well with the teachers, the three teacher unions that declared the strike within strike. And we got through to the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. That is one of the three, talking about the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, CCT, those three unions who have declared the strike. And according to the Ghana National Association of Teachers, government's posture towards this particular strike action is more authoritarianism than they having a posture of engaging them on their grievances. We got through to the head of public affairs of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT Secretariat, Mr. Idris Amba, who indicated that that posture wouldn't help.
12 labor organizations have from last week been on indefinite strike, demanding that government release their pension fund to be managed by an independent and private fund manager. Government, on its part, feel it is better placed and trusted to manage the workers' Tier 2 pension fund, although the National Pension Regulatory Authority has licensed certain individuals to take charge of the various schemes backed by an Act of Parliament. On Tuesday, a meeting between government and public sector workers, which was attended by the Labour Minister Haruna Idrisu and representatives of the 12 aggrieved public sector unions, was aimed at addressing the wrangling over the management of their pension fund, but ended inconclusively because the workers said they have been angered by the suit against them by government. According to the workers, it is curious why government has refused to obey the very institution it has established to regulate the pension schemes of public sector workers. The head of public relations at the NAT Secretariat, Peter Tete Koda, said the workers are not doing anything wrong, but ensuring that future of public sector workers are secured.
We should rather have taken government to court for keeping our money without releasing it for our fund managers to operate it. You see, it's very sad. The National Pensions Regulatory Authority has licensed certain individuals who should take charge of the various schemes. All these schemes we are talking about have been registered, and we depended on the NPRA to get the licensed personnel to man the various schemes. So it isn't that we are circumventing the law. No, we are working and doing everything according to the law. So the reason why we are not happy is that we have gone by the law, by the dictates of the law. And so we don't see why we should now be told that what we are doing is illegal, when we have gone strictly according to the law. And you who owe us, you have rather taken us to court. And it's strange. Yeah, it's now getting worse. That is our opinion. It's getting worse. Until the right thing is done, we sit down and then we talk. And if we talk and an agreement is reached, fine, there's no problem. But that sort of imposition, because I'm in government, I'm imposing this, whether you like it or not, it's not going to help anybody. If we sit down and judge, it will be better than taking the issue to court and demanding that this should be done by force. It's not going to work.
He refuted the notion that the public sector workers are in cahoots with a particular political party to cripple government, adding that the strike will be on until their demands are met.
We are not withdrawing, or we are not going back to work because our demands have not been met. Instead of sitting down with us to discuss the issue to make sure that we get what we want, the issue has now been taken to court. So talking about we calling off the strike is neither here nor there. That is the issue, because you owe us. And the public must know that it is not money we are demanding from the consolidated fund. No. It is monies that have been already deducted from our salaries over a period of almost 5 years. Next year will be 5 years. We were not happy. You know, we have never been happy ever since these things started. We are not doing it because we want to cripple government, we want to cripple anybody, or we want to cripple any system. But these are issues that bother on us going on retirement. If you are 20 years today, tomorrow you will not be 20 years, 20 years plus one day. We all will go on retirement one day.
Meanwhile, the Public Relations Officer at the Education Ministry, Paul Krampa, said the aggrieved public sector workers are being difficult and must return to the negotiating table with the National Labour Commission.
That is very difficult in the sense that, you see, the issue is something they have actually, they lodged the complaint. You get a point. They lodged complaint at the National Labour Commission that there are outstanding issues, and they wanted those issues to be resolved. So based upon that, the National Labour Commission invited the various stakeholders for us to find a amicable solution to the issue. So if the issues are being resolved, I mean, I don't think there's any need for anybody to jump the gun and then declare strike action. You get a point. The issues are in the process of being resolved. If nothing was being done about it, that would have been a different thing altogether. The issue is being looked at critically. And today, hopefully, they'll tell us exactly how, I'm talking about the finance ministry, how far they have gone in resolving the issues that they have raised.
So clearly, the Ghana Association of Teachers, NAT, replying the Ministry of Education. You had the PRO there, Paul Krampa, responding to some of the issues the NAT, NAGRAT, and also CCT have been raising. But away from that, poetry is a form of literature that uses aesthetic, rhythmic qualities of language to suggest differential interpretation to words or to evoke emotive responses. It is a deep-rooted part of culture and history of the country. Although the basics of poetry are universal, it differs in different parts of the world. Versity News spoke to two young poets from completely different backgrounds and parts of the world to find out the socio-cultural differences their styles of poetry entails. DeAndre Kukwapea of our education desk has more.
Poetry is one of the art forms that define our culture. It improves the quality of life both for those who create it and for those who appreciate it, educating and invigorating the citizenry and enhancing people's lives by providing them with deeply meaningful experiences. The extent to which poetry achieves these goals is neither well understood nor easy to quantify. A study by the American Poetry Foundation reveals that students who don't merely read poetry but also memorize, recite, and write it are more likely to read it later in life. Up until a few years ago, poetry seemed like a dying art, but with the emergence of spoken word, it has sparked the interest of the youth. In Ghana, spoken word is a growing literary art form that has seen some very talented poets such as Matombo the poet and Shafiq Osman. But there is some disparity in the socio-cultural thrust of poetry in Ghana and America. First Digital News News spoke to Brennan Lachlan, a poet based in Miami, Florida, to find out the socio-cultural differences between poetry in Ghana and poetry in America.
I think, interestingly, the difference is that poets are kind of like a vehicle into like the underlying kind of thoughts and things that are kind of going through the mind of, like, I'd say more enlightened minds. I think art is a way to express like kind of underlying things that are on the mind of the people who are being affected by things in society. So what I find here in Ghana in the poetry is there's a lot of similar sentiments that you wouldn't find in California. So a lot of things dealing with religion, a lot of Christianity and things like that, praising of their God, and a lot of things talking about the state of Africa, or Kwame Nkrumah's dream. It seems to be more of a theme that is talked about because it's something that's important to the poets that live in this particular place. Interesting thing is, in my generation in California in particular, there's really a moving away from religion that is very apparent. And the poems that I originally wrote were to people in my generation are afraid of religion. They're afraid of God and religion because in an individualistic society, and looking at how religion has justified the treatment of people in our country, people find religion and find God to be something that is suppressing their individuality and can be brainwashing and things like that. So when you talk about God and when you talk about religion, people don't want to talk about those things. They don't. They see spirituality and religion as two separate things. So my original poems were to kind of open people's minds to the possibility that, like, God is something much greater than religion.
Also speaking on the issue, Ghanaian poet and spoken word artist Shafiq Osman said poetry cannot be a profession because of the inability of poets to raise income from the arts, hence the low patronage by young poets.
Personally, I see poetry as an avenue for me to release my emotions. And so when I do poetry, it's not necessarily trying to survive in an industry, because I don't do it professionally. I mean, even overseas, I don't think very few people do poetry professionally. Most people take it as a hobby. So surviving in the system is just based on your passion. You don't necessarily have to have a monetary aim to, like, if you want to do poetry in this country. I mean, even for musicians, how many of them make ends meet in this country? Talk less of poetry. So if you want to survive in the system, all you have to do is to have that passion, a non-monetary passion, and you should see it as an art instead of seeing it as an avenue for you to make money.
Okay, so getting into some other issues away from education, today is the final day for the Voters Register exhibition that was organized by the Electoral Commission for a 10-day period. Now, we visited some polling stations or centers to assess the situation, whether people indeed went to these polling stations where the Voters Register had been opened to check their names and their particulars, whether their names were spelled well, or their ages were captured well, or their locations, whatever detail will be needed for election 2016. The situation would marvel you. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll speak to some political parties as to why they did not also send representatives to these centers to monitor this particular exercise. After this break, there's some more details. To stay.
Like us on Facebook at First Digital TV. I love you, you love me. Baby, I know it's true. Sometimes it's crazy. If you want quality TV, that will make your family always very happy. First Digital TV. First Digital TV for your family. We give you quality premium digital TV.
First Digital
TV you can afford. Always there is a channel for every member.
local and international news, Parliament, Cinemax African movies, Sports 24, Emmanuel TV, GTV, CNN, Al Jazeera, Planet Kids for Kids, and many other channels.
Fast Digital, the Ghanaian in you.
Okay, welcome back to news here on Fast TV on your digital television. It's live from our studios here in Accra. Now, to the top story for tonight, the voters exhibition exercise that was organized by the Electoral Commission of Ghana came to a close earlier today with very low patronage recorded across the country. The 10-day exercise, which was to afford eligible voters check their particulars and also make corrections where necessary, has been, so far, there are the survey and the checks that we made at the various centers been described as unsuccessful, although there were no major incidences recorded, but the patronage was very low.
The Electoral Commission on Friday, 24th October 2014, opened the voters register across the country for eligible voters who have registered to cross-check their particulars. All the centers visited since the exercise began has seen no action at all, or just one or two people coming to verify their names. Since the whole exercise came to an end on Thursday, 30th October 2014, the news team went to some exhibition centers to see if there will be the usual last-minute rush, but we were disappointed as at 3:30 p.m. on Thursday afternoon that the news team was at the Osu Salem 1 and 3 Primary School and Osu Pentecost Church Center. The exhibition officers were virtually on holiday.
People are not really coming, and the total number of voters in this book is 744, and only 300 have showed up. Some people have left this place, like they are staying in another place, and so they coming here will be a problem, so they are not really showing up.
But do you...
Okay, some people have their ID cards, but their names are not in the register. And yeah, there's a slight problem with the age and other things, but everything is okay.
But have you been able to rectify it, or you have a challenge form that you fill?
Yes, you have a form that you fill.
But how about the party agents, party representatives? How many have you had so far?
Oh, just one.
Just one. And
yes.
Which
I've been coming. I've been here checking 7, 8, 10. It's only today that I've checked about 30 or 40. That's all.
30 or 40 people. So in total, how many names have you been able to check?
Maybe 80 something.
And 80 something.
Out of 1,211.
Maybe 80 something. But whilst at Osu Salem Senior High School Exhibition Center, the team was fortunate to chance on one person who came there to check her particulars. The news team found out from the exhibition officer how the process has been so far after 10 days.
Yeah, it's been okay, quite well. You know, during the last few days, today and yesterday, I think people were rushing in because it's the last but one day, and today being the last day. So that's what I can say. But then the first day was a little bit dull. I think it's impressive. It's good. Yeah, I have about 2 lists here with me. I have you know, A and B, 2 centers at a time. I'm checking both centers. So right now, both centers, I don't know if I'll give my percent. I think it will be about 30%. Yeah, because people, the awareness is not that much, but then it's a little bit impressive. It's okay. They are coming in. Yeah. I have party agent. I think the NPP, they came, but then they've not been back anymore. They came 2 days. They came to stay here with me, but then they're no more here. Yes, please. Throughout the 10 days exercise.
Meanwhile, some political parties have called for an IPAC meeting to find out what must have contributed to the low turnout, whereas some think it was as a result of apathy. The ruling National Democratic Congress thinks otherwise.
Well, I wouldn't describe it as apathy. You see, did you go to check you yourself? You think that automatically you are there, and even if it's not there, you think that there's a way. And for me, I also think that people's schedule, yeah, to some extent, was a challenge. If you're a businessman, you are chasing money. If you're a teacher, you have a schedule. Sometimes it's difficult for people to leave their jobs and do some of these things. But I think Ghanaians understand it, and they did it well. People, I mean, the passion was there. People showed interest in the exercise. Once we recorded the number of patronage, then certainly I think it was okay. I wouldn't attribute anything to apathy. I think we've done well, and we should commend ourselves for a good job. From reports I'm getting on the field, it's been incident-free. Not 100%, but of course, you should expect some minor incidents that can be easily ignored. Turnout, somebody will say not encouraging, but it varies, right? Especially in the rural areas. My understanding is that it's been very successful. Turnout has been very high in the rural areas. But in the cities, as usual, yeah, somebody will say, after all, I've registered, why do I have to go and check? People are very optimistic that their names are in. So I could say that people are not patronizing at that level because of some of these perceptions and things like that. So I wouldn't say everything is well, but at the moment, I think it's not bad. We are expecting reports from our men on the field. We compile a report, and if there's anything to say, we can take a decision. And then, but so far, I think it's been good.
Okay, so that's exactly what was the situation at the various centers we visited today. Clearly, patronage was very low, and the reports we're getting from our Western regional correspondent and our Eastern regional correspondents as well, the situation is a national phenomenon, and nationwide, not much was to be said about patronage of the voters register exhibition, and it's already ended. We're making efforts to get through to the Electoral Commission and also the Progressive People's Party, Kofi Asomasian, to speak to why there was some low patronage on the part of the political parties themselves. And joining me in studio is my colleague Bright Jaka, who actually visited these centers to tell me more. Right? Good evening to you.
Good evening.
It's good to have you. Now, tell us, when you visited these centers, did you see any political party agents, and if you didn't, did you inquire why they weren't there?
Thank you very much, Alfred. All the centers that we have visited, in fact, can say that out of 10 that we have visited, we only encountered NDC polling agents. That is about 10. We have about 6 of them, NDC polling agents, who told me, or they told me they don't know exactly why the other parties have not shown up. Right. And also the rest that we went to, only you can find only NPP. Either the exhibition officer tells you there was NPP rep, but was not around at the time we went there, or has come and left. So it was like the same report that we have been hearing across the country pertaining the reps of various political parties going to these exhibition centers to make sure that things are done properly.
No, but that then, I know you spoke to the NDC deputy national organizer, for that matter.
That is communication director.
Communications director. Exactly why did they not send representatives to these centers? Because this is a very important exercise ahead of election 2016.
Good. If you listen to him carefully, he was, I wouldn't say he was holding brief for his officers, but he was saying that it is a human institution, and therefore sometimes you send them to such places, they may want to take half their lunch, they may want to attend to a nature's call or something. So maybe at the time we were at the exhibition centers,
their agents were not there. But I find it very difficult to accept that, because if you are supposed to be a polling agent or be there to check that everything goes on smoothly, you're supposed to be there no matter how. So that explanation.
Let's get on to the telephone now, and I'm told that we have Emmanuel Wilson, who is the national organizer of the People's National Convention, PNC. Mr. Wilson, good evening to you. Hello. Mr. Wilson, good evening. Okay, we don't seem to have Mr. Emmanuel Wilson on the telephone, but we were also able to speak to Kofi Asamoah-Sian, who speaks for the Progressive People's Party, the General Secretary for the matter, and hopefully he'll join us before we end. But the exercise has ended. Did you get that sense from the EC officers that there could be an extension of this particular exercise?
Not at all, Alfred, and not at all, because 10 days, I have spoken with Usu Pari, for instance, who said they have sat down and structured this thing and make sure that they gave enough and had enough education, put enough education there in the public, such that people would move to go and check their particulars. But nothing of that sort, or what report that they have gathered from the field doesn't merit the education they put out there. So I am not sure if EC would want to extend the date. But you know, Progressive People's Party, as we understand, made some pronunciation to the fact that they wanted an IPAC meeting over what we seriously don't understand that, because there was a meeting before this exhibition exercise, and all the parties agreed that 10 days, yes, is enough. So I'm not sure if there is going to be that extension, but some excuses, or we've been hearing, I've spoken with some people as to why they have not gone to check the pen. Some say the workers, and during the times that the exercise is on, they are at work and cannot go to check their particulars.
But very finally, do you think that education was that adequate about this particular exercise, so much that could get people to go?
Alfred, I sit by television, I listen to radio, and you hear the jingle or the advertisement from the Electoral Commission about this particular exercise being played, at least back and forth. So education, I can say that it has been there. It has been there even way before the exercise began. But as to if we can agree that the lack of attendance or people inability to go check will be because of apathy that James Asante refuted, I cannot tell. But maybe it's just because of laxity on the part of the electorate to go and check their particulars.
Let's see how the Electoral Commission indeed deals with this, if there's going to be an extension of this particular exercise. But as always, Bright, thank you so much. And I know you're not going to end this, because we would get the EC to speak and maybe the political parties as well.
That's right.
And let's now go for our natural resources, environment and governance updates.
Investigations undertaken on the two roads in the western region, which are partly being funded by All Revenue, reveals that delay in releasing funds for the project is costing government dearly. The Asankragua-Enchi Road, one of the two roads, is recording several millions of Ghana cedis of cost overrun. The 61-kilometer stretch was awarded to a Chinese firm, Top International Engineering Corporation Ghana Limited, at the sum of 110.6 million Ghana cedis. Information gathered at the Ministry of Roads and Highways indicates that as at May 1, 2014, interest on delay payments for the project alone stood at 36.9 million Ghana cedis. Checks at the ministry also revealed that although the project had undergone variations amounting to 396.6 million Ghana cedis, pushing the contract sum to about 509.2 million Ghana cedis, government has so far disbursed over 906 million Ghana cedis on that project alone, due to improper planning on the use and disbursement of the oil money. The road, which was captured in government's 2014 annual budget, has been 94.
Let's now go for some pension tips for tonight.
How is pension entitlement computed? The minimum pension payment is based on 50% of the average annual salary for the 3 best years of a member's working life. Where a worker works beyond the minimum contribution period, the amount of pension payable is increased by 1.5% for every additional 12 months worked up to a minimum of 80%.
Pension Tips is brought to you by PenTrust. Call them for all your Tier 2 and 3 pension plans on 0302 901 500 or 0501 291 030. PenTrust, discipline.
Let's now go for some business news for tonight. There's been a dip in the producer price inflation for the month of September 2014. The figure of 46.7% recorded is about 1.2% lower than the 48.3% in the month of August. The utility subsector recorded the highest inflation, followed by mining and the quarrying and manufacturing sectors. Even though producer price inflation has decreased, this may not necessarily translate into lower prices of goods and services, as other factors go into the determination of these products.
The year-on-year producer inflation for all industry was 46.7% in September 2014. The monthly inflation rate was 1.2%. The utility subsector recorded the highest year-on-year producer price inflation rate of 76.1%. Followed by the mining and quarrying subsector with 50.6%. The manufacturing subsector recorded an inflation rate of 39.6%. The monthly charges in the producer price index indicated that mining and quarrying recorded a monthly inflation rate of 2.1%, while manufacturing recorded 1.2%. The utility subsector recorded the lowest monthly rate of 0.2%.
The year-on-year inflation in ex-factory prices of goods was 46.7% in September 2014. Now, what this means is that ex-factory prices of goods for all industry increased on average by 46.7% in September 2014. Producer price inflation rate decreased by 0.1 percentage points in September 2014 relative to the rate recorded in August 2014, which was 50.7%. Now, for the manufacturing sector, the rate for September 2014 was 2.3 percentage points lower than that for August 2014. And for the utilities, which is made up of water and electricity, the rate for September 2014 increased by 0.3 percentage points relative to the rate that was recorded for August 2014. So if you take the 3 subsectors, the mining and quarrying subsector recorded a decrease, whilst the manufacturing and the utilities recorded increases of 2.3%.
So let's find out how the city is faring against some major currencies on the forex market. Let's now go over some sports news with Akosiamwa.
Good evening to you, and you're welcome to the sports segment of the news with me, Akosiamwa. And in our first story this evening, high participation greeted the one-day seminar today for the online registration of players by Division 1 league clubs. Participation drawn from second-tier clubs converged at the headquarters of the Ghana Football Association for the training ahead of the 2014-2015 seasons, with mostly IT officials of clubs attending the day program. Instructors took them through the mandatory online registration system in use. After the seminar, participants spoke about their delight for the new system, which according to them is very efficient. So we'll bring you excerpts of that in our subsequent bulletin. But away from that, to some interesting stories concerning Ghana League clubs. The Ghana League Clubs Association, GALCA, has rejected suggestions that an 18-club league should be organized in order to reach a compromise with King Faisal Babies Football Club, following several public outcries over the delay in the start of the Premier League. The Kumasi-based club and the Ghana Football Association has been pending for about 2 months now, and this has delayed the start of the 2014-2015 league. There were suggestions from some clubs to have the number of clubs in the league increased to 18 to accommodate King Faisal, but GALCA, after meeting the clubs on Wednesday, October 29, 2014, kicked against the suggestion. We don't and won't support any 18-club league idea because it is out of range for us, said Isaac Kumsin, vice chairman of GALCA. Some clubs proposed this, but after a meeting with all the clubs, almost 80% kicked against that idea. You don't talk about an 18-club league in a vacuum. You consider the Division 1 and what happens as well in Division 2 and the financial capabilities of the club. The court case. Well, that's it for sports this evening with me, Akosiamwa. Entertainment news is up next.
In entertainment this evening, musician Kwame Asare, being popularly known as A+, has been sued by lawyer Maurice Ampao. Maurice Ampao's action follows comments allegedly made by A+ on his Facebook wall that described lawyer Ampao as dumb for his comments on the missing Castro saga. First Entertainment Desk got through to lawyer Maurice Ampao to find out exactly what the details of the suit is.
Outspoken musician Kwame Asare Obeng, popularly known as A+, will finally make it to court on Monday, November 3rd, 2014, as he has been served with a writ of summons by the Accra High Court. In a case, Maurice K. Ampao, plaintiff, versus Kwame Asare Obeng, defendant, the plaintiff praised the court to place an interlocutory order on the defendant from further publishing any insulting and defamatory messages until the substantive case has been dismissed. First Digital Entertainment team spoke to lawyer Maurice Ampao in an exclusive interview to hear his comments on the case so far.
Yes, I think it's in a public domain that I have taken A+ to court for defamation, and I think that the matter is now pending in court. He has been served. I think the manager have called me and is talking to me, but I think that since the matter is in court, I don't want to do any further comments. The court will take up the matter and decide. But I'm just saying that I've been insulted, defamed, and I'm seeking an injunction to stop.
And still entertainment tonight. Tanks have been working and anxiety high, and the course of speculations have also been running very wild, with all sorts of permutations and analysis being made as to why Nkrumah, makers of Olympic milk, should endorse only Peter Okoye instead of singing Dio P-Square, which includes his brother Paul as well.
Scandal hounds have sniffed another crack in the house of the Okoyes, sends another raid in the air after the one that nearly tore them apart months before. But speaking at his unveiling as a brand ambassador of the milk product, Peter debunked such development and explained why the company selected him alone. Music is like football. For example, if I play for Barcelona and I get endorsed by Nike, it doesn't mean the whole Barcelona team has been endorsed. This is about me and not me and Paul, he explained. The fact that I'm ready to work with his brand is an indication of its top quality, he added in his inaugural speech as the brand ambassador of the brand.
Hey fellas, yeah, you wanna get down?
So let's find out how the weather will be treating us tonight into tomorrow morning. Let's start with what happened in Ghana, but with the World Bank Group has made an additional $100 million to fill the critical gap in the Ebola response to speed up deployment of foreign health workers in Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. Now, the World Bank President Jim Yong Kim made the pronouncement when he met with Ghana's Vice President Pakwesi Misa Arthur at the Flagstaff House here in Accra. Mr. Kim is in Ghana to meet with the United Nations Mission for Emergency Ebola Response, which is based in Accra, to coordinate the Ebola response in the West African sub-region.
The latest grant of $100 million from the World Bank in the funding for Ebola brings to over $500 million within the last 3 months. The World Bank President Jim Yong Kim says about 5,000 health workers are needed to help bring the Ebola epidemic under control, and these workers will need to be given the requisite training in order to give better care to patients and also provide assistance to citizens who report other diseases beside Ebola in affected countries. He commended the African Union for pledging to deploy 2,000 trained health workers to affected countries. Kenya is also helping with 600 trained professionals. The World Bank Group has put together a pandemic emergency fund to better respond to dire humanitarian issues such as Ebola. Mr. Kim admits that the global community, including the World Bank, responded too late.
To put together what we've been calling a pandemic emergency fund, a fund that would disperse very quickly to tackle these problems. It will not be ready to put into motion for the Ebola response, but we need to give confidence to investors that in the future that we've learned from what.
Okay, so this report was actually by our Flagstaff House correspondent Rosina Foster. There's more on what the World Bank president said in our subsequent bulletins. But let's go into Burkina Faso, where protesters angry at plans to allow Burkina Faso's President Blaise Compaoré to extend his 27-year rule has also set fire into the Parliament House earlier today. Correspondents say the City Hall and ruling party headquarters are also in flames. A huge crowd is surging towards the presidential palace, and the main airport has been shut. Now, MPs have also suspended a vote on changing the constitution to allow Mr. Blaise Compaoré to stand for re-election next year. 5 people have been killed in the protest Among the most serious against Mr. Kampar's rule, reports BBC Africa's Yakub Oburaga from the capital. We're told that the state-owned television station has also been ransacked.
Protesters in Burkina Faso have reportedly burned the country's parliament and ransacked state television on Thursday, forcing it off air ahead of a planned vote on a motion to permit President Blaise Compaoré to extend his 27-year rule. Compaoré's attempt to remain in power has deeply divided Burkina Faso and drawn criticism from France and the United States, both allies of the Burkinabe government in their fight against Al-Qaeda-linked groups in the region. The EU said it could jeopardize the country's stability. Thursday's unrest follows days of protests against the government's plans. The opposition had called for a campaign of civil disobedience.
So clearly all is not well in Burkina Faso. We're monitoring the situation there now. International correspondents will bring us up to speed with exactly what will be happening there. We'll definitely update you in our subsequent bulletins. But that's it for the news this evening. Came to you live from our studios here in Accra. Before we go, let's take a recap of the news that made headlines. Voters Register exhibition ends with low turnout recorded in most stations. MCs step up preparations ahead of National Sanitation Day celebrations. And report reveals that Ghana leads in marijuana smoking in Africa. Burkina Faso protesters burn parliament, state TV station ransacked. So there's more updated news on our bulletin tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. But remember to log on to our news website, www.fairdigitalghana.com, for some more news. And walk into any fairs. That's more of some data that you can also get on Fair Digital Television on issues related to GN Bank. You can walk into any GN Bank branch and get your Fair Digital decoder for 150 CDs. And you're paying just 20 CDs every month for 20 channels in digital quality. It's been teamwork tonight. On behalf of the rest of the team, we're so grateful for your time this evening. My name is Alfred, and good evening.
Have some fun. We have local and international news, Parliament, Cinemax African movies, Sports 24, Emmanuel TV, GTV, CNN, Al Jazeera, Planet Kids for Kids, and many other channels.